a distributor brings in spirulina from China, for example, because I've seen the document, the document will state that the spirulina is organic, right? And they receive a document in Chinese, and the company that certifies, all they have to do is look at it, and federal law in United States mandates them to give them certification, organic certification, without traveling to China, without looking at how it's grown, without checking anything at all. They're mandated by the federal government to give them the certification. This is why you're starting to see products that are being labeled organic where in fact they are not.
What's up, my juice lovers? Welcome to the Cold Pressed Truth. This is Charlie Wetlaufer. Today, I'm very excited to do a deep dive and talk about spirulina. What is it? Health benefits, where it comes from. And I've got a very special guest with me today. We have Paul, founder of Royal Spirulina. What's up, Paul?
Hi, Charlie. How are you?
Good. I'm super excited to get you on today. Yeah. You and I have spent a lot of time lately discussing spirulina and really talking about everything. So I'm excited for our audience to learn what I've learned from talking to you over these past few months. So I think a good place to start would maybe be your background and what led you to get into finding spirulina and why you're so passionate about it. And then from there, we can get into like health benefits and quality differences, etc. So do you want to start with maybe just telling us about yourself, your background, and how you found your way to spirulina?
Sure. First of all, Charlie, thank you for giving me the opportunity to be on your channel. And thank you for being open-minded to hear what I have to say, especially for the past few months. With that said, my background, so 24 years ago, when I was working as a network engineer, my background is engineering. I spent a lot of time in front of computers, offices, 12-hour days. And before I learned anything about food, I consumed the typical junk food, fast food, a little bit time to go out to get lunch. And over the years, I started becoming really sick. It got to a point where I would come home and just crash. 6 o'clock afternoon, I would have no energy. I would be in bed. Long story short, I became really sick, and it led me to a journey of learning about food and what food is. I started learning from 2 different doctors who were using food as medicine, right? As Hippocrates says, let food be thy medicine. So I said, okay, while I'm working, I need to figure out a way where I can get the most nutrition from my food. I can't afford time to be making smoothies and different things at work. Especially 24 years ago, we didn't have those outlets where I could just go and purchase a healthy juice or a smoothie. So I started researching. I spent hundreds of hours, thousands of hours, looking for the ultimate food, the most nutrient food on the planet. And it led me to a research from NASA in 1970s where they did a study with Texas A&M. And that led me to spirulina. They were using spirulina because it's the most nutrient-dense food on the planet. So I started consuming a lot of spirulina along with changing my diet and introducing vegetable juices. And at the time, I had no idea about your company. So I was using, any juicer that I could find, which was better than what I already had, consuming junk food. So I started implementing spirulina into my diet along with juices, and my health turned around within months. Within a year, I was a completely new person. That led me to a company in Japan where I was purchasing spirulina from for many, many years. I was consuming spirulina from Japan, and when Fukushima happened, I said, okay, I cannot consume this food any longer because even the spirulina from Japan wasn't being sold anymore. Japan bought out a company in United States that used to be a very large producer of spirulina, and our spirulina that was produced would go to Japan because spirulina removes the toxicity and the radiation poisoning out of your body. And it removes EMF from your body, electronic magnetic frequencies from cell phones, computers, and everything else. So I said, okay, if I can no longer have spirulina, a pure, clean source of spirulina, I decided to experiment and start growing it myself. And I did little batches. It wasn't the easiest thing to do, but I was successful growing it myself. And then probably 8 years ago, I found a gentleman in Florida who actually worked with NASA and Texas A&M University, creating the cultures and the nutrition. He took me under his wing, and we started growing spirulina together in Florida for several years. When he decided to retire, I said, okay, my source of spirulina ended it again, and that led me to Puerto Rico when I started experimenting with spirulina and growing spirulina in Puerto Rico. However, with that said, I found difficulties because there's electricity outages, there's water outages, so it was very challenging. So I went back to my drawing board and I said, okay, I need to figure it out how I can do this because I cannot live without spirulina. Spirulina became my primary source of nutrition, especially that I'm a vegan. So I started researching, and I found a gentleman who is a aerospace engineer who dedicated many, many years of his life figuring out how to use algae to offset carbon emissions. We came together and we said, okay, let's provide this food to people. With that said, now, many years later, we developed special equipment where spirulina is being grown in. So that way we avoid any contamination that's coming in from the air, because you have to understand that spirulina is a powerful food, but it got a bad rep over the years because a lot of toxicity was being found, including heavy metal and radiation, because most of the spirulina is grown in polluted commercial areas on a wide scale. And as you already found out, you've done a lot of research yourself, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, when you
So
research how spirulina is grown, one of the main methods is grown in wastewater, I guess, and some of it's grown as animal feed as well. So not really fit for human consumption.
Yeah, so in order to have a large-scale cultivation of spirulina and to keep the costs down, you cut corners. This is why all the distributors that are bringing spirulina from China, are making a killing, because you can purchase a pound of spirulina from China for literally $10, $20, but it's toxic. I've spent close to a year obtaining spirulina from different distributors in the United States, some of which are very popular. And what I did, my focus is lab results. I want to see COAs, certificate of analysis. That tells me where spirulina is being grown and what's in it. And to my disappointment, I found mold. I found aflatoxins, which are liver damaging. I found horrible, amounts of metal in it. And as you said, yes, there are decent producers out there. I'm not going to say there aren't any, because it's very few of them that actually have decent spirulina, but the rest of them were toxic, was poisonous. I would not consume it even if it was given it to me for free. What makes Royal Spirulina different from even one of the better producers out there is that we utilize special equipment and special methods that allows us to have spirulina without any toxic material in it. And that's because we don't grow in an open pounds. These are called raceway beds, where they're exposed to the environment. So you have, in polluted areas, you have heavy metals falling in, and spirulina is amazing at binding with heavy metals in your body. So for detoxification purposes, spirulina will bind to the metals in your organs, pull it out, and then it goes, through the liver, and liver, removes everything, right? But when you consume spirulina that's been grown in contaminated areas, you are actually consuming metals. So consumers are not aware of this. They understand.
So let's talk about just for 1 second, like what spirulina, where it actually comes from. So you're saying it's grown in these ponds and whatnot. Can you talk about technically like what it is?
Yes. So again, these are very large pools of water. These are like man-made lakes almost. They're called raceway ponds. Okay, you can look that up. 95 to 98% of spirulina is from China. China supplies India. China supplies United States. Hundreds of thousands of pounds of spirulina is coming in from China, and you can find shipping logs for various different companies to know where it's coming from. All you have to do is type in the name.
So even when it says it's from India, that could have come from China and then through
Correct.
India.
Correct. There are Indian small growers in India, but India is also polluted. In order to produce hundreds of thousands of pounds of product, you have to have you have to be able to scale up, right, without having the culture to crash, because we're talking about millions of gallons of water that spirulina grows in. So even though the label says spirulina from Australia or India or other countries, it's impossible. I spoke to one company that distributes spirulina in the United States, and they told me it's grown in a river in Colorado. So it's so unfortunate because even the distributors don't understand sometimes where it's coming from, because they might buy it from somebody in the United States that brought it from China. So it's not their fault. But, it's impossible for spirulina to grow in cold water. It needs certain temperatures, right, to be stable. Otherwise, it retracts and it doesn't grow anymore. It can't be grown in water, fast-moving water, right? It has to, it has to be in a pool of water, right? That's stable. So a lot of these companies don't even understand where it's coming from. They simply buy it, repackage it, and sell it. And some of them are selling spirulina that's even labeled organic. That's another big challenge for customers because they omit a product that might be pure and natural for the sake of having a product that says organic on it, even though it might be polluted. And I had lengthy conversations with USDA and their organic departments, because USDA has their own USDA organic contracts with independent companies that go out there to do certifications. So when I spoke to USDA, one of those organizations companies, I was told that the way organic labeling works is when a distributor brings in spirulina from China, for example, because I've seen the document, the document will state that the spirulina is organic, right? And they receive a document in Chinese, and the company that certifies, all they have to do is look at it, and federal law in United States mandates them to give them certification, organic certification, without traveling to China, without looking at how it's grown, without checking anything at all. They're mandated by the federal government to give them the certification. This is why you're starting to see products that are being labeled organic where in fact they are not. So for a company like ours, we're asked all the time, is your spirulina organic? And my first response is, there's no such thing. Is it possible to grow it organically? Yes, it is. But it would be on such a small scale in order for you to be able to control the culture that you would not be able to sell it on any larger scale. And second of all, there is no certification for spirulina under USDA, because USDA has certifications for soil-grown organisms, right? Not for spirulina grown in water.
So I did, like, in my research, recently they did approve hydroponics. So wouldn't that be classified as a hydroponic if it's grown in water? Like I think it was like pretty recent, like a few years ago, they officially started approving hydroponically grown organic. So I think you could do it. I actually reached out to CCOF about it and asked them, since they do a lot of the USDA certifying, and their response was, yes, it's possible, but we don't do it. You'd have to reach out to USDA directly.
Correct. Now, you also have to ask yourself, what's being certified? Are we talking about tomatoes? Are we talking about vegetables? Are we talking about very sensitive microorganism like cyanobacteria? Cyanobacteria is the name for spirulina, right? The technical name is cyanobacteria. If I start using products that are not necessarily clean, in order to grow it organically, you can contaminate the water, and then what spirulina will do, it will develop different issues like aflatoxins, as I already mentioned. Okay, because again, you don't have the ability to control the quality of the water and what's coming in from organic compounds. This is why spirulina is grown with inorganic compounds, right? There is no chemicals of any type that are being harmful to the bacteria, because, as I said, it's a very gentle and delicate organism. This is why when you
sorry to interrupt, but is spirulina an algae?
Yeah,
I've read some conflicting things. Some people say it is algae. Some people say it's not. Is it technically algae?
So there are different labels for spirulina. Yes, most of the time it's labeled as algae. So it's half truth to it. What spirulina technically is, if you really start studying it, it consists of phycocyanin, right, which is the blue extract, and then you have chlorophyll. Spirulina technically is from animal and plant kingdom, because you have live organism like cyanobacteria, right? So how would you categorize it? The science behind it is still being researched, because unfortunately there's more research into vegetation and other things besides spirulina. This is why I'm hoping that we can do more research on it. But technically, spirulina, if you really think about it, it's both animal kingdom and vegetation. It's not seaweed, right? Because if you take seaweed under a microscope, you will not see a live organism or bacteria moving. You can actually see it moving under a microscope. So there has to be more research done in order to understand better what spirulina is. In 1970, spirulina was really taking off. And for whatever reason, it kind of fell off from the map. Okay, and the research ended. There's a lot of research being done where you can see tests and studies on NIH, PubMed, Science Direct, with regards to different, symptoms that are being posted about it. But definitely more research has to be done and more education, because we still don't understand some of the things about spirulina. And scientists actually say we don't know where it came from. Just like mushroom, scientists don't know where mushroom came from.
Okay.
Right. So it's still unknown, and more research has to be done to understand how.
Yeah. I was just taking a couple notes here as you were talking, and so like I talked to you, right, and you told me a lot of this, and then I was like, I have to go see if any of this is true, and I found this popular brand of spirulina on Amazon, and then I researched the company. It says California, or spirulina, organic spirulina from California, but then I researched the company, and the company, based in California, is an importer of Chinese ingredients. So I was like, oh, well, that totally backs up what he's saying, is that the company is technically a U.S. company, but it's an importer Chinese ingredients. And then I looked into it further, and it's affiliated with this huge like Chinese company in China, and that's a subsidiary or something in the U.S. So it's kind of weird that way. I also ran into this when I was researching adaptogens like mushroom extracts, and a lot of companies. Well, I won't say a lot of companies, but I identified a popular company that shows pictures of them growing these mushrooms in Canada. But then when I actually followed the trail and found out where their supply was coming from, it's coming from China. And I'm not necessarily saying mushrooms from China are bad, because they did pioneer the whole medicinal mushroom
Correct.
science. So that might be different, but I'm just saying that's another example of brands appear to be from a certain place, and they might be getting their supply from overseas without being forthright about it.
Yes, I know what you're speaking of. I know the company you're speaking of. They were actually bought out by a Japanese company,
Mm.
and yeah, and a lot of the product, all the product, as a matter of fact, all of the product is being imported. And again, there's a lot of wonderful and good products that are grown in China.
Right.
Okay. They definitely have the know-how. They've been doing it for a very long time. But as business grows, as business scales, in order to produce some of these products, unfortunately, companies cut corners in order to sustain themselves. Okay, it's just how things happen sometimes. You know, when you have small growers like that are producing these items, they are able to control the quality more. But as they expand, that's when you come into challenges, right? Because you have to satisfy the demand.
Absolutely.
So it's a whole business aspect of, what do we do? Do we mass scale and then hope for sales, or do we create sales first and then scale up, right? So that's always the challenge with anything that you'll do. But yes, all of the product in United States is being imported from China, and unfortunately, some of these products are completely toxic. It was scary when I found some of these COAs. And another thing is, for customers, whenever you purchase a product, it doesn't matter what it is, always ask for certificate of analysis. You want to make sure and be 100% sure that you're not consuming harmful ingredients, not ingredients, but, materials that are in there, because you might consume a product for days, weeks, months, couple years, and you're okay. But it's down the road, 7, 10 years later, that you're starting to discovering things like, oh, I'm having liver problem. Why? I was consuming all these wonderful products for so many years. I should have been healthy. How come I'm sick? It's because it takes time for your body to develop disease, whether it's cancer or anything else. It takes time. This is why you want to be sure. And I understand that a lot of companies start because of their passion for health and their passion for people, and they have the right motivation, but they're not educated enough to understand, hey, I might be providing a product that's actually harmful to my customers. This is why it's so important to ask for a COA. And another thing is, when you go to these websites to purchase these products, I have never seen anyone showing where it's grown, showing the certificate of analysis. I've asked some of these companies to please share it with me, and they're telling me it's confidential information. How can it be a confidential information when
Yeah, totally.
it just makes no sense? And that's a red flag to me, because in my mind, I'm thinking there must be hiding something. And I don't want to accuse anyone of anything, but I've done enough research to understand now why. It's because they make so much money on these products. They pass it on to the customer. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think a big part of the problem too with brands is a lot of them partner with a manufacturer to actually make the product. A co-packer or co-manufacturer, private labeler, which may make products for many different brands. And a lot of times they rely on what the co-packer tells them, right? They're like, oh yeah, we've got this great mushroom extract. We've got this great spirulina. It's grown in the US, whatever. So they trust the manufacturer, and then they put the stuff out in the market. And so, like you said, the founder themselves may not know that what they're selling is not actually a good product.
The larger you become, the larger the company is, the less oversight the CEO will have, because now he has an employee that he or she relies on, right? So, ideally, it would be amazing if we could educate people on things like spirulina or anything else out there and create these micro farms all over the United States. That's ultimately my dream, to be able to teach other people where locally these foods can be grown, right? Because we moved away from farming and we went into cities, and now we rely on products from other countries that are coming in. And you hear, oh, tomatoes imported from China, don't eat them, they're toxic. Whole Foods removes them from the shelf. We hear these things all the time. So locally grown is very important. And and again, it's not just spirulina, but it's other products that are being sold under a label of organic and healthy and natural.
But just to be clear, like your spirulina is not currently grown in the U.S., correct?
No. So our spirulina, the manufacturing originally was in Thailand. When you're looking to cultivate spirulina, you want to make sure of two things: sunlight, proper stable temperatures, because spirulina likes to be around 84, 86 degrees constantly. Once temperatures fall down, spirulina retracts and it goes into hibernation mode. So it's not growing. Spirulina should double in its size every 48 hours. Okay? So you need proper temperatures and proper air quality. And even though Royal Spirulina has been grown in enclosed bioreactors that are patented, actually, so nothing falls in. Air quality is also controlled, air filtration, and on top of that, water filtration. So everything is being controlled. But in order to cultivate spirulina and to be able to pass it on to customer at a reasonable rate, we have to find locations where we can afford to grow it and then sell it to the customers. Could we sell it? We had people tell us, I'll pay, $200 per pound for your fresh spirulina. Okay, but that's very few. My interest is to help, the 9-to-5 person who can't really afford a very expensive product. So we have to grow it in areas that's affordable: labor, land, and everything else, right? It's the bottom dollar that counts. With that said, we are looking right now to move everything stateside. So we're doing a little bit of research. We're looking for locations, possibly, an investor as well. So, with that said, we are looking in different regions around the United States, including Puerto Rico again. But in order for that to be produced, we have to be self-sustainable. That means solar, our own water collection, and everything else. Because I will not cut corners, and I will not sacrifice on product quality. I had a tough lesson in life with my own health, where I understand that in order, to do things honestly and not to cut corners, that takes a lot of different inputs, like I already mentioned, where we have to do these things at an affordable rate. We have enough product right now that we made to satisfy the demand, but ultimately the goal is to move into the United States or one of the islands, Caribbean islands, to grow this stuff and hopefully even provide a better rate because shipping is very expensive. You have to understand that for fresh spirulina to be shipped, you have to ship it within a few days. And the nice thing about Royal Spirulina is that the growing. So let me go back a little bit to growing, right? When it comes to quality of spirulina, it's how it's grown, where it's grown, and then how it's processed. Because the process works like this. You grow spirulina, you make sure that no heavy metals or any toxic environmental pollution falls into the water, right? So how it's grown, we have the bioreactors. Step number 2, which no one else has in the world that we have, is ability to wash spirulina, because when you pull spirulina out of the water, then you have to wash it, right? All the inorganic materials you have to wash off, and then you have pure spirulina. What we have that nobody else has, which is why our spirulina was rated at over 37% of raw phycocyanin, is ability to wash spirulina without damaging the cell wall. Spirulina has a very delicate cell wall. And when you wash spirulina, most of the time, anybody else out there breaks the cell wall and phycocyanin starts leaking out. And then spirulina has no shelf life, right? What we have is ability to wash spirulina without damaging the cell wall. This is why our fresh spirulina will last up to 4 weeks for fresh. You can put it in the refrigerator and it will be good for up to 4 weeks. Normally, it's about 3 to 4 days. And then spirulina goes bad. I also have, I wanted to show everybody, this is our frozen spirulina. I don't know if the camera can focus on it, but this is our frozen spirulina. So what we do also, we freeze it, and we're able to send it. But again, shipping is very expensive because we have to ship it on dry ice. So, I was always against powders. Number one, I was always against powders. I said, I want raw food. I want food that's in its natural, original natural shape. And then my partner said, no, I think we can do something where we can still produce powder and high quality. I said, okay, well, prove me wrong. We went through 7 different companies. And finally, we found a company that's able to freeze dry the product correctly. Now, the fresh spirulina is 100% bioavailable for the body, meaning when you eat it, 100% of it is absorbed. That specific freeze drying process, not just, there's a lot of freeze drying companies out there, but it has to be in a specific way how you do it. We are able to retain all the nutrition in spirulina. This is why our spirulina looks different, smells different, and it tastes differently. I apologize.
Yeah, I can speak to that for a second. So as you know, part of my own research, I ordered every brand of spirulina I could find, started with the most popular ones, and just ordered a bunch of random ones. And it's incredible. Spirulina is one of these products. The price is all over the place, and the quality, so there's extreme differences in quality between poor quality and good quality. And sometimes the price doesn't really line up with that. Like some of the more expensive ones were some of the worst ones, It's just more branding and marketing. But it's amazing the difference between your brand, Royal Spirulina, and some of these others, what I did side-by-side tests. Some are dark and burnt almost, it seems like they use a lot of heat in the process. There's a couple that smelled very strongly smelled like almost like urine, I think, because they use too much urea in the production of it.
That's one way to produce spirulina very cheaply.
And there's another one almost smelled like shrimp or something. And then I read that they grow some of it in, I don't know if it's for shrimp feed or in shrimp water or something weird. But that's like one of the ways they grow it. What is that method?
So basically, as you already mentioned it, there are different ways to grow with spirulina, and a lot of times they will use wastewater, whether from cultivating shrimp or anything else. which is why, you found out that it smells horribly. When it comes, okay, so when you collect spirulina and then when you dry it, companies, what they're doing, they're utilizing spray dryers. Are you familiar with how dry milk is made?
No.
Okay, so what these companies do, they take liquid product, which spirulina is in liquid, right? And they have these machines where they pass liquid. It's like a cannon, which is heated up to 450 degrees. And they basically shoot the product through the cannon at high speed. And what comes out is dry product. The reason why you're seeing spirulina on the market that is really dark and like black, especially when you look at high magnification images, you'll see a lot of dark spots, and that's because it's burnt. The reason why our spirulina is so bright green and like almost bluish, it's because we are able to retain all the phycocyanin, which is the blue. You have chlorophyll, which is the green, and blue is phycocyanin. So when companies in China, for example, they process spirulina, they heat it up to very high temperatures, and that serves several purposes. One of them is killing any pathogens, parasites.
Like pasteurization, basically.
Right. Yeah, from you have the knowledge when it comes to juice and how juice is processed, so you understand this. So yes, it's heated to a very high temperature, which destroys phycocyanin. And then what you're left off is this dark product that is very low in nutrients. Our spirulina has at least 4 times the amount of nutrients compared to even the best quality spirulina on the market right now.
Yeah, the green, so the full spectrum spirulina you sell, to me, it smells like actual algae, like actual plants. Which I actually think smells really good because it smells so natural. It doesn't smell like the other ones. I know some people prefer maybe it doesn't smell like anything at all, but I actually like the smell. And then the blue, the phycocyanin, that is pretty much odorless and tasteless because that's just the extracted phycocyanin, right?
Which is why it's so popular, because it looks really pretty. It really has no taste.
Juice bars love it because they'll add it to a lemonade or a smoothie or a juice, and it just makes it bright blue, which is really cool. I mean, it's a really cool marketing technique, and like you said, it doesn't smell like anything.
And people respond really well to it, especially kids. Kids are drawn to these really beautiful, bright colors. So, so I understand the logic from a business perspective, but I'm all about health. So for me, I want to use full spectrum spirulina, as I call it. I call it full spectrum because it's complete. Nothing was removed. And in the process of removing chlorophyll, just to end up with phycocyanin, you are removing a lot of different nutrients.
Right.
Does it have anti-inflammatory properties? Absolutely it does. There's a lot of research on phycocyanin alone, but you're losing protein, you're losing a lot of B vitamins. Spirulina is super rich in GLAs, which allows the immune system to develop, right? Just like mother's breast milk contains GLAs, which colonizes the gut and the immune system develops in a baby. Same thing with us. So when we give spirulina to people that are having all kinds of different symptoms, which really stem from the gut issues, all of a sudden they're healing. They're feeling better, and symptoms go away. Within a couple weeks sometimes. So I'm a big proponent of full spectrum spirulina. I'm not against using the blue. I make a lot of cool drinks from the blue. It's my go-to in the morning, for example. To give me that. That mental sharpness. So it's great. It's good to use both of them. But for pure health benefits, I definitely recommend full spectrum.
It's interesting too with the full spectrum, when you put it in water and mix it up, you can actually see the phycocyanin sort of out around the rim. It makes like this blue rim, which is pretty cool. I've really been enjoying using your spirulina. I've been restricting my calories lately just because I'm trying to get off this weight I gained during the pandemic. And it's a great way for me to get protein and nutrients without consuming a bunch of calories, which, most people don't care about that. But currently, the calories restriction, I really like it, and it makes me feel great. So yeah, I prefer the full spectrum, not just for the health benefits, but I also, like I said, I actually like the way it smells and tastes. I don't know what it is, but it reminds me of like jumping into a pond or something.
I say this to people because a lot of people come to me, they message me and say, hey, I'm dealing with this or that. What can I do? In order for you to appreciate the taste of natural foods, you have to allow your taste buds to readjust. People are used to processed foods, sodas, fake sugars. So taste buds all of a sudden get this hit of all these natural flavors, right? Like from spirulina, for example. And like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. You have to allow some time for your body to readjust. Because for you, the reason why you enjoy it is because you've been drinking, for example, juice for so long, right? And you're eating all these healthy, you're eating all these healthy foods. So for your body recognizes, this is why our eyes in nature, we are attracted to certain colors, right? Because naturally we pick up, when we see an orange or an apple, your body instinctively recognizes that it's good for us. Same thing with taste buds. People who have not consumed certain processed foods, when they try it, they get nauseous. It's disgusting. It's because their body knows it's not good for you. But when you consume all these fake products, eventually you shut down natural ability of your body to recognize what's good and what's not. And then you crave all these fake products. So it takes a little bit of time. This is why I tell people, start slowly when using spirulina. Because a lot of people report back and they say, hey, listen, I started using a tablespoon of spirulina a day or 2 tablespoons and I'm having headaches. I feel the opposite. I'm supposed to feel energy. I feel supposed to feel great, but I'm tired. I'm sleepy. I have a headache. What's going on? So we posted an article on our blog about detox. It's because spirulina has ability to pull, as I said, heavy metals, EMF radiation, and all these other things out of your body. But detox is a 2-step process, right? Step number 1 is for spirulina or like juice to bind with toxins in your organs, pull them out, then it goes into the blood, and then blood circulates through your liver. In 15 minutes, it circulates 3 or 4 times, I believe, and then it comes out, right? But if you consume too much of the good stuff, then all these toxins are coming out too fast and your liver is unable to cope with everything. And then it recirculates and it goes back into your body and then you have a headache. So, you have to start slowly. You have to make sure you're staying hydrated, like rule for water, you got to drink half of your body weight in ounces, so stuff like that. So you have to be mindful that these things can happen, so start slowly, let your body adjust.
It sounds very similar to doing a juice cleanse.
Absolutely.
Where if you're just coming off a bunch of processed foods, you headaches and diarrhea and whatever else, but if you do it regularly, it's no big deal. You just kind of feel great. Similar.
My own mom, when she started using spirulina in the beginning, she would get nauseous because she was so toxic. I won't get into what she did for a living, but she did work with chemicals. So when she started using spirulina, she started getting really nauseous, 5 minutes after drinking, because spirulina reacts so fast and she would be nauseous. So you have to slow down. But same thing with juice. I see the same thing in people with juice. People drink, especially high quality juice like what you guys have. The machines that you produce are amazing. I've been juicing for now 25 years. I've been juicing. I've used all kinds of machines, including other brands of cold press machines, and it's nowhere close to what you guys produce. The quality of the juice, the taste of the juice, the texture of the juice, I was completely blown away. But yes, when you're drinking high quality products from whether it's spirulina or juice, you will experience the detox. Absolutely.
Yeah. Speaking of quality, um, yeah, I have to wrap up the call soon. My daughter's home sick today. But I do want to just talk about the marketplace just for a minute before we get off. So basically, when my dad founded the company in 1976, when he founded Good Nature,
2 years
wanted
before
to
I was
make,
born. Amazing.
yeah, he wanted to develop a juice machine that made the best possible juice you could make. And he never sacrificed over the past 45, 50 years, however long we've been in business. He's been approached by all kinds of people. Let's change the design. Let's make a centrifugal machine. Let's make a masticating machine, this and that. He always said no, because this is the best way to do it. It's the way they've been making juice and olive oil and wine ever since thousands of years ago. It was just, you crush up the fruit or grind it up and then you press it. And so we launched the juice bar marketplace recently. My goal is to use the same methodology for sourcing ingredients. We're just looking for the best stuff, period. Forgetting about the marketing and the brands. Like, we just want the best, highest quality ingredients. So that's why we brought Royal Spirulina onto the marketplace as our brand of spirulina. So for anybody that wants to check it out, go to goodnature.com and click on the link for the marketplace, and you can buy Royal Spirulina there. You can buy small packages or large if you're running a juice bar or cafe. And I truly believe, as you know, I've tested every brand I could find. I truly believe it's the best spirulina you could find. It smells the best. It tastes the best. It feels the best when you consume it. And Paul, as you've said, you're happy to post this certificate of analysis. We'll put that on the marketplace as well for people that want to maybe ask other brands for their COAs and compare the nutrients and toxic metals and whatever else is in there. So thank you for that. So yeah, you can check it out, goodnature.com. And also, I just want to say that this is just the first video you and I are doing together. I do think education is going to be a big part of this partnership we formed here with Royal Spirulina. So I'd like to keep this going with more videos. We'll do some blog articles, and maybe we'll do a deeper dive on some of the things we just kind of glossed over here, and actually post some documents and things to back up what you're saying. I think that'd be a fun thing to do over the next few months on our Good Nature blog. So thank you for coming on. Yeah, is there any last thoughts or things you want to say, or do you just want to wrap it up?
Yes, I just wanted to say, I want to say thank you for creating the marketplace, because I believe through the education that you will be providing on several different products and subjects will open up some eyes, and it will change the quality of people's lives. Because you know what? You're not selling juice machines. I'm not selling spirulina. What we are selling is vitality, energy, extending people's quality of life by being healthy. That's where I'm in the business for. Just like your dad, he wouldn't take shortcuts because
Right.
he understood that the product would not be as good as it can be. So thank you for that. I'm looking forward to creating more videos with you and educating people further on several different topics. And yes, we are an open book. We have nutritional testing done, so you can see nutritional profile. We have certificate of analysis for purity as well. So all of that is in the open. And I think that's it. So again, thank you for your time. I really appreciate giving me the opportunity to speak. And I'm looking forward to creating more of these videos. Thank you, Charlie.
And is it okay if people reach out to you directly if they have more questions about your product?
Absolutely. You can email me at info@royalspirulina.com if you have any questions, concerns, need direction, and I'll be happy to answer. I'm here to serve people, and I'm here to provide education. My interest is to help people feel better, because I know how it feels when you have no energy after 5 o'clock of working, and it sucks. You want to have a quality life with your family. You want to be around your family longer, and enjoy. So
awesome. Thanks so much, Paul.
contact me.
Pleasure
anytime.
as always. Okay. Talk
Thank
soon.
you so much, Charlie. Thank you.
Bye.